Heroes Reborn, Episode 4, The Needs of the Many. Pretty interesting episode. I think we got some fairly cool stuff. We did actually get Ren and Miko getting to America, which was pretty cool. And it was kind of funny, when they got to Renatus, um, and it wasn't so much their storyline, it was actually Noah's and the other guys. There's definitely made Renatus seem just like Google, because it's like, oh, they go around and they have all this stuff. It's like free sushi and this and that. And it was like, that's a lot. That's Google. That's definitely Google. Whereas like people work in this, excessively high profile location, and it's just a fun place to work. Like if you've never heard any of this stuff about Google, you can just look. You can Google the Google offices, and they just have like grills and free beer and all sorts of craziness. And that's what they were kind of playing off of, which I thought was funny. Especially with the sushi thing. Like the other stuff where it's just like a big space and people were riding bikes was kind of simple. But when it was like, oh, they have this and that, and free sushi and free whatever, I was like, that's definitely, they're playing around with the idea of this Renatus kind of being like Google, which I just thought was kind of funny. But I enjoyed a lot of the storylines. I mostly enjoyed Noah's storyline in this episode. I think because we got to see the daughter of our main villain actually turn against her own mother, which was pretty cool. It wasn't like, oh, she found her boyfriend and it was like they had a conversation about it. It was just like, no, she found her boyfriend in the worst position she could have, because of course her mother wasn't giving her any answers. She knew something was happening, but it's like all these evils are just hooked up to this machine so that their powers can be used for, or converted into technology for use against other evils. And so of course we see her boyfriend in there. I can't remember like anyone's name in the show except for like Noah and Tommy. Honestly, like everybody else, I can't remember. I remember Luke. Can't remember his wife's name, and that is honestly it. So I'm just gonna say like the people. But we have the daughter, and she finds her boyfriend, and so that's an issue. We find Molly, whose name I of course remember, even though it doesn't matter now because she kills herself. And I mentioned this before. I'm still 100% certain. Like almost 100% certain at this point, after she killed herself, the only person who's going to give us any real answers is going to be Hero. Like, everyone else is like, oh, you did this, you did that, I was supposed to kill you, I can't tell you because there would be no point. We do get like a little hint where there are multiple people, and it was a group of people that worked towards this goal of June 13th, which we still don't really know what the goal was. Like, the way Molly described it and how she was talking almost made it seem like it was Evos that kind of blew it up. And technically, and this is like the really big thing, we still don't know what happened, because there was like this giant shadow. It was almost like a UFO like went over the place, and then boom, there's a giant explosion. So I'm still wondering if it was some sort of device or if that was simply, like an eclipse. And that could have totally been the case, where it was just an eclipse and the explosion happened to take place at the same time. And that would kind of explain how Luke has abilities now, because that's of course how people got their powers in the original series. This eclipse happened randomly. It was just like boom, they have their powers now. And then they did an episode, I think it was in like season 3, where another eclipse happened and everyone who had powers lost their powers. So it could have just been the eclipse and the explosion just took place at the same time, or it could have actually been something. But I guess if it was a random eclipse, that could have also been someone's powers. I don't know. Like, you never really know. But we got some pretty cool hints in there. It's like, if I tell you where to go, then everything we've done will be for nothing. So that was a nice little hint. We do actually get to see the other guy's sister. I believe it's his sister at the end of the episode. Like, the person that has, like, it looks like more than just shadows. It looks like a dark, it's super nutty, but it kind of looks like the beginnings of, like, a dark Kamehameha from DBZ or something. And I'm pretty sure that's the person who manipulates shadows, and that's the guy's younger sister. And she was much younger than I thought. I don't know why. I just assumed that they'd be closer in age. I'm not sure why at all, but she's like much younger. It seemed like she was probably early teens, which pretty much everyone is in this show, it seems. But that was kind of cool. I'm excited for that. I kind of can't wait to see like shadow manipulation and how they do it, especially with what they showed at the end. If that was the person, which I'm pretty certain it was, because the Heteronatus, she does mention like using the shadows and stuff like that. So I'm pretty certain that was his sister, and I love the way that it looked. I was like, that's definitely cooler than what I was thinking. I just kind of thought it would just be like wavy shadows coming off of her, and she would kind of be like what people normally make ghosts to look like, where it's just, black, kind of gown sort of look. And she does have like almost like a cape sort of thing going too, where she kind of makes me think of Raven from like Teen Titans with her cloak like that. But I love the little display that we got. It was actually pretty cool to me. So I'm excited to see how they use that power. I'd love to see them use more of the evils that they already captured. I'd love to see them already have technology based off of their powers, because I'm sure they've had these people, aside from Molly and the daughter's boyfriend, I'm sure they've had those people for months. And I'm really curious what abilities they have. Like, if they use Molly's power as, to find the way to find all evils on Earth, which is now limited to within local range just using the glasses. If they had that, and like they still have the daughter's boyfriend, he has like telekinesis and stuff like that. I'm wondering what technology they're making, because they already had the stuff for Molly. Like, they just had that ready to go. Like, we need her, we're ready to go, and boom, find all evils on Earth. So I want to see them come out with more technology. I don't know how many episodes we'll get, but I'm hoping we get some episodes where Renata's, soldiers come after our heroes, and they have technology based off of these evil's powers, because they had a ton of them in there. It could be it was like maybe 2-3 dozen people. There are so many powers that could be made into different forms of technology, like weapons and all sorts of stuff. So I want to see that happen. I want to see that take place. If they had the stuff for Molly ready to go, then I'm sure they have other stuff that they can kind of pull out. Like, here's a gun based off of whatever. It could be a lightning gun or something like that. Or here are these gloves. And I think I mentioned this before with like the telekinesis guy. Like, they can make gloves that have, lift people up and pull and push things. So I want to see that happen in this series, and I really hope it does, because otherwise I feel like there'll be a really missed opportunity to have like these crazy forms of technologically advanced weapons based off of Evo superpowers. And I think that would just be a good challenge for pretty much every character, because that's just like going up against someone's power, except it's probably easier to do because it's just in gun form, or well, it wouldn't be in sword form because that wouldn't make that much sense, but most likely it would be either in gun form or like grenade form, something that's really fast and firepower based. It wouldn't just be like, here's a sword and a shield, because that's dumb. It's 2015. But I enjoyed that. I thought that was pretty cool. The El Vengador thing's pretty cool. I think that's probably the one that's been the most consistent, where it's constantly just like little by little. It's not the most amazing one for sure, as far as I'm concerned at least. But I do enjoy it. It's like each episode we get that storyline. I think it's the one that advances the most out of any of the storylines. Like, the stuff with Noah is the big mystery, so of course that is probably going to be saved until the very end, or really close to it. The stuff that we officially got an introduction to, I'd say, in this episode, starting with in the Arctic Circle, that is still a really big mystery, which, once again, that's like the whole saving the entire planet thing, so I'm sure we won't get the official answer, like, to what exactly is happening until we're closer to the end of that as well. And then Tommy's storyline, I think, converges with that, and it's kind of just him just kind of going through the motions in his life, just crazier after crazier, and his does advance continuously, and it definitely did in this episode. But the El Vengador stuff, I feel like each episode is like just one little step, and I guess it matters more because this guy's human, and he's dealing with this crazy stuff. He's already dealing with an evil after we found out where the captain who's trying to kill El Vengador is actually an evil himself with super strength. He finds out in this episode, or no, he didn't find out. The father figured it out. So he still doesn't know that his nephew has superpowers yet. He knows that the father does. They've both been captured, and now he has like this new suit, which I thought looked really awesome. It was actually pretty cool. There were like the metal plates, and he has like, sort of pistons in it and stuff, so he almost has super strength, which I like that scene when he did that. He like, punched the bag and, basically like just tore through it. And then the father was like, you made a new suit, am I supposed to be impressed? He's like, yeah, actually, because it's a badass suit, and it really is. I thought it was actually kind of cool. I was like, I was impressed, and he was just like, whatever, I can turn to smoke, so I guess it doesn't matter to him. But I really enjoyed that. It was very minor. It wasn't much. He does have a Batmobile now. It's just more and more like Batman. And it's a super sweet car. We didn't get we don't have a full shot of it yet, but it's definitely a cool looking car. I could tell just from like the little parts of the car that we got to see. So he's building that up as his Batmobile. He took it out for a test drive. His nephew gets captured. The father gets captured. I don't know what they're gonna do with him. I'm sure the nephew's gonna be fine. He's gonna get saved, but I don't know if they're gonna kill the father off or what. Because I don't know. They might be like, well, we can't use you as you as a bargaining chip won't be as good as Al Vengador's nephew, or we don't need two bargaining chips. And once again, the boy is a much better bargaining chip than you are. So they could kill him off. I don't think they will. At least not yet. I don't know if he'll be able to save both or if we will end up losing the Padre as a character. But it should be something. He was turning the smoke super duper slow as well. My girlfriend pointed that out. He definitely was compared to like the other scene when he was running and he just grabbed him and was like boom and they both just like smoke. So it was definitely slower. And my girlfriend, we kind of got into an argument a little about how the boy was captured because of course he has the ability to go through stuff, but I saw it because she mentioned like he shouldn't have been captured. I kind of see it as he doesn't have complete control of his abilities because that's why we only see him ever like using his hands. He can't like just he hasn't figured out how to like phase his entire body through stuff. And that's why he was able to get captured. That's how I see it. There's no point in doing a long thing, but we had a back and forth about it. Like, he's a little kid. All we've ever seen him do is use his hand, and he's always doing it for like a short amount of time. And it just seemed interesting. Like, that's what I got from it. Like, even the very first scene, when he put his hand, when he was standing on the rooftop, I believe it was in the very first episode, when he puts his hand like through the break in the rooftop, he like yanks his hand out. When I first saw that, I was like, it seemed like he can only do it for a certain amount of time, and he does seem to struggle with it when he does it. Like even when he had the mask in his hand, it seemed like he struggled just to do like that with his whole or most of his arm at least. So that's how I saw it, as him being able to get captured because he doesn't have complete control over that. Because if he tried it and it didn't work, he'd be dead because he'd be inside of a person. He'd kill that person and he'd probably die too because there'd be like bones and crap in his brain and it would kill him. So that's how I saw it, but you guys can let me know because we had like a back and forth about it. Like, it just because he has the power, it doesn't mean he can just walk through stuff and it's super simple and easy for him. It's like still training any normal physical ability you have. That's how I see it. But I'm excited for how that's going to play out. I think we're going to get, I'm just going to call it the Batmobile unless they give us an actual name. I'm pretty sure we're going to get a full shot of that in the next episode because he's going to go and save his nephew and possibly the father if he's still alive. But that was really cool. Like, every episode, it advances just enough to where I enjoy it. And then we have Luke and his wife, faster than I expected with them actually having that confrontation. And in all honesty, I wasn't sure. Like, they kind of did the typical thing, which I was okay with, that he actually lived. But with her being the way she was, I wasn't 100% sure he would survive. Because, I mean, we even saw it in this episode, probably more than we have any episode. She was happy when she killed that one guy. It was like, are you this guy? He's like, yep. And she just shot him right in the head. She was like, wow, that was a beautiful shot. And she's just kind of insane a little bit, it seems. And she just gets out of the car and leaves him, and that's kind of it. And I was kind of wondering if he would kill her when she was walking away and they had him in the background, like if he would have actually done that. But I like that storyline. It was really cool. He has powers now. Who knows how that's going to play out. We get to see him actually use his powers a little bit, so he's kind of like a conductor for the sun, and he can basically take the heat of the sun in and then channel it somewhere else. So it's almost like it's like a slower version of fire powers when you think about it, because he has to get heat from the sun. It's almost like a Superman thing where he gets healed by it. But he has to get the heat from the sun itself, and then he can convert that into whatever he wants to. Like when he was testing it with the glass, and then he gets the heat from the sun in the car, and he just uses it to set the list on fire. So it's kind of cool. It's an interesting take on fire powers, because that's basically what it is. He takes the energy in, and then he convert it into fire. So I thought that was kind of cool, or at least sort of heat waves, because it wasn't like, I mean, it was a really quick scene, so I don't know if it was exactly that he shot out fire, or if it was just like he shot enough heat at the fire or at the paper to set it on fire. So we'll kind of have to see it again, like in full force, exactly. If it's like just a heat wave type of thing, and it's just so hot it can set things on fire, or if it's actually fire. But I love that. That's probably my it's probably my favorite one. I think the El Vengador thing is the most consistent, just how it goes up in specific increments each time. But the Luke and his wife thing was definitely my favorite, just because I was so curious. Now that that's happened, I'm still really curious to see where he's even going to go from this and where she's going to go. She doesn't have the list, but of course she's just going to keep hunting Evos. And then now he's on the opposite side of the fence. It's like, is he going to try to stop her? And if that is the case, one of them is going to have to die. Like, that's just how it's going to be. And I'd love to see that happen just because I think it would be cool story-wise, but it would kind of suck to see this husband and wife, or I guess ex-husband and wife now, having to go against each other where only one of them can live in the confrontation. But I think it would make for a pretty amazing episode, or at least portion of an episode, if that does take place. And then the last thing is really Tommy's storyline. I guess Tommy's storyline and then the Arctic storyline, which I'm pretty sure are going to converge into one. And like I said, the Tommy thing, fairly consistent. It just, different stuff keeps happening. And he's now being captured by the FBI, so as much as the El Vengador is consistent, the Tommy storyline is as well, but there's other stuff going on. There's, of course, like the sort of love dynamic in there, and it's not just 100% Tommy dealing with stuff. It's like, oh, here's this relationship, and then it's like, well, what's going to happen, of course, eventually when he and the girl end up kissing, and then the boyfriend gets all mad at him. I mean, I guess he can't really out him at this point. He could to the whole world and say, like, this kid, and have a picture, I guess. But, you know, like, obviously we know that's going to come up. The boyfriend kind of disappeared, too, after they showed up at the hospital. I thought that was kind of weird. It was like he wasn't in any of the scenes after he was about to say, you know, we aren't going to sit around with our thumbs up our butts. After that scene, he was totally gone. Like, Tommy was in there with the girl, and it was like, all right, I have to go get this blood. You want to come with me? They go get the blood, and then the cops show up, or the government, whoever, FBI or whatever it is, shows up at the hospital, and then the boyfriend's still just, like, nowhere to be found. It was like he left, like, all right, see ya. Like, we showed up, but I'm gone, and he just wasn't in there anymore. So I don't know if it's just going to be the two of them, or if the boyfriend is going to show up and then he gets captured as well in the next episode. But I just thought that was interesting. Like, okay, the scene with the blood, sure, it was just like he found out, and they could have just been in different parts of the hospital because the girl was just in the hallway. And so, of course, he was like, all right, I'm getting this info to see, you know, where I have to go. And then they teleport and come back. No real need to, like, get the other guy. But then it was like, all right, so they got the blood and all that stuff. And then nothing. Like, he just wasn't there. But I'm excited for that storyline still, because now the government has them, so who knows how that's going to take place. And then, of course, we have the Arctic Circle storyline. We get the names of those two characters for the first time. Of course, I don't remember them. But we find out that the girl not only is doing whatever with the Aurora Borealis, but she actually has the ability to bring things back to life. So maybe it is something with, like, a wormhole that's happening. That's what it looks like to me. And she's kind of stopping it from forming in our universe, basically, and destroying the planet. But it seems like it's focused on destroying Evos, and that's kind of what would happen. It's not just going to save, Evos, or not just save the world, it's only going to save Evos. Maybe, I don't know. But I'm excited for that. It was pretty cool. I mean, we didn't get much out of them. It was just a little bit like, we've kept you in hiding for a long freaking time since you were born because our enemies have been looking for you. You're the only one that can stop this, and they're headed somewhere. I think they mentioned where they were headed, but I don't remember in any way what they said. But they're in the Arctic Circle, so they're going to meet up with some other characters. So that should be interesting. And I guess I totally forgot about Miko and Ren. Like I did mention, they're in the States. Nothing really happened. Like, they showed up, and then technically it ended when they got to the front door of Renatus, and everybody was in cosplay. And that was about it. So there wasn't really much there. It was just, like, some comedy stuff. I did love when the taxi driver was like, what type of pornos are you making? I thought that was really funny. That was just like, where did that come? Like, why did he think he was making pornos? Like, I just thought that was funny. But I liked this episode. It was pretty cool. Like, it wasn't like not like the biggest stuff happening. It was really the whole episode was like little increments. Like nothing huge happened this episode except for Molly killing herself and the daughter switching sides officially, I guess. That was about it. Like everything else was just like, all right, well, we knew they were going to the States. They got there, and then literally when they got to the main point that they were supposed to get to, the episode was done, or at least their entire portion of the episode was done. The Tommy stuff was fairly simple until the very end. It was like, oh, I have to save my mom. That was the whole thing until the end when he got captured, and then the El Vengador thing was almost the same thing. Where it's like, well, I need a better suit, and then that was pretty much it. And a better suit, Batmobile, and then people got captured at the end. So there wasn't like any huge stuff. It was kind of like what we knew was gonna happened in this episode. But it was still nice to see because now that it's done, we get to the next episode and hopefully some bigger revelations or some revelations because the Noah stuff still a huge mystery, still kind of driving me nuts. But I did enjoy this episode, of course. I want to know what you guys thought about it, so please comment below. Let me know your favorite parts, your least favorite parts. And I want to know what storyline is most entertaining to you guys right now. Because for me, I think it's still it was the Luke thing, but I think right now it's kind of gone back to the Noah stuff because they had the confrontation in this episode, which is really good because it's a mini series. So I'm glad that wasn't dragged out. But now it's kind of gone back to this mystery with Noah, like what the heck happened on June 13th. So that's gone back, that's now my favorite storyline again. But I want to know yours, so please comment below, let me know, and thanks for watching.